This video is made possible by our loyal Patreon supporters. Visit patreon.com/Psychetruth.
Hi there, it's Sheena here, and welcome to your yoga flow to boost immunity. This is a great sequence to do at home if you feel like you're getting sick, or if you'd like to prevent sickness, ward it off before it comes. We will need a few props for today, so optional to use a blanket, a rolled up towel or t-shirt, as well as 2 yoga blocks and a bolster or cushion for our final resting pose. So we're going to start off seated today. So go ahead and take a comfortable seat on the mat here. And we're going to sit up nice and tall, lifting through the crown of the head to the ceiling. First, we're just going to take one deep inhale through the nose. And exhale, open mouth, sigh it out. Once more like this, inhale, fill up the belly, fill up the lungs. And exhale, open mouth, sigh it out. We're going to start here with grabbing opposite elbows and do something called opening and closing the windows. All we're going to do here is lift the elbows up to the sky and then bring them back down to the waistline. We're going to do this 5 times with each arm on top of the other. And actually, this pose is meant to stimulate the thymus gland. The thymus gland is located in our throat chakra. So if you feel like you're getting a sore throat, or if you're privy to getting sore throats, this is a great little posture you can do at home. It also helps to open up the chest, open up the shoulders. Make sure you're breathing while doing this, and we'll take our last one here. Go ahead and bring the hands down by the sides. You can go ahead and shake out the hands, shake out the wrists. Our slew of props here. We're going to use one block here for our very first pose, and we're just going to come to a down dog. So coming into our down dog, go ahead and get one block handy here. I'll show you a great little modification that you can do at home for your modified down dog. So bringing the hands a few inches in front of the shoulders, we're going to tuck the toes and come to our down dog. One thing you can do with this block here is bring it to the highest height and just rest the head on the block. So you might have to play around a little bit here. But what we're doing here is massaging the forehead. We're taking a little bit of weight off the hands as well. And inversions are energizing poses. So down dog is an inversion, which we tend to forget because it's such a common pose. But when we feel like we're getting sick, it's great to take inverted poses when our head is above our heart to bring energy back into the body. Again, optional to use a block here or not, and just go ahead and roll the hips, swaying them side to side, pedaling out the legs. You can nod the head yes, shake the head no. Breathing here. And let's take one final breath here. So I suggest that you guys take at least 5 breaths in your first down dog. And from our down dog, we're going to come bringing the knees to the mat here. And we're going to come into our first child's pose. We're going to take a modified child's pose here. So rather than the arms coming out long in front of us, we're going to bring the hands to the heels here, bringing the knees nice and wide rather than having them glued together. Again, coming to the forehead here, we're just going to give ourselves a nice little forehead massage. Just rocking side to side, massaging the temples. And really any sort of folding pose like this, you can count on for an immunity boosting effect. So child's pose, puppy pose, think forward fold, think seated forward fold. These poses are going to be some of your best friends. We stay here for 10 breaths. You can go ahead and come to a stationary position as well. The arms are nice and relaxed. And remember to breathe here. Let's take 2 more breaths in our child's pose. Last breath here. So from our child's pose, we're going to extend the arms out long in front of us, and we're going to roll the length of our spine. So rolling to the front of the mat, head comes last. We inhale to high cobra here, pushing through the hands to open up the shoulders. And on a long, nice, slow exhale, we're just going to shift back to child. This time those arms are going to stay out in front of us. We do this a total of 5 times. So nice and slow here, really extending through the crown of the head, making sure that we roll 1 vertebrae at a time, up and back. And Cobra is a heart-opening pose. So you really want to think about opening, lifting, and lengthening when you roll to that Cobra. Maybe your hips come off the floor with each Cobra. We'll take 1 more here. Last Cobra here. And we shift back to our child's pose. From our child's pose, we're going to come back to a down dog. So go ahead and tuck the toes, pushing through the hands. So from our down dog, we're going to bring the knees down onto the mat. And let's go ahead and shift the hips back to the heels and swing the legs out long in front of us. So from our seated posture, we're going to roll down to fish pose. I'm going to show you guys regular fish pose, and then you always have the option to take supported fish using the blocks. So go ahead and come up onto the forearms here, and we're just creating a nice little bend through the arms. Bring the feet to touch, and we're going to point the toes. Pointing the toes to the wall in front of us, we're going to inhale, reaching through the forearms, and lift the chest to the sky. Optional in your fish pose, couple different variations. You can let go of the head and make this a passive stretch. You can keep the head and the neck active here. So really whatever feels better for you and whatever helps to give you more lift in the chest. So notice how there's this big gap between the mat and my shoulder blades here. This is where our supported fish comes in, and I'm just going to show you what that looks like here. So bringing the blocks to the highest height, we're going to put 1 block each underneath each shoulder blade, just sort of pinching the tippy top of each shoulder blade. You may have to wiggle around here. And we're going to come onto the hands. So we're using the blocks here to lift the chest. And again, option to keep the head nice and active here, so we're just looking straight ahead, or option to just drop it back. Wherever you are, we're just gonna hold for 5 breaths. And we're continuing to lift the chest with every inhale. This is a great heart-opening pose. The shoulders are nice and relaxed away from the ears. We're not crunching into the shoulders here. Nice deep breath. We'll take 1 last breath in our supported fish. And go ahead and slowly come back up to seated, using the hands to support you. Go ahead and remove the blocks if you're using them. From our fish pose, we're gonna stay low here and slowly bring the arms out in front of you, curling chin to chest. The tailbone is nice and curved here, and lower down onto the back 1 vertebrae at a time. We're gonna take a supported bridge pose here. So go ahead and bend the legs, bringing the feet in toward the hips. We're gonna take 1 block and bring it to the highest height. On an inhale, we lift the hips and bring the block underneath the hips. You may have to wiggle around a bit, see what feels good for you. Our arms are down by our sides, and the palms are pressing into the mat. So like we opened up our chest here, and we're gonna hold here for 5 breaths, we're opening up the lower body, the hip flexors as well. In our immunity boosting flow, paying close attention to all of the major joints in the body. So our hip flexors are responsible for internal and external rotation of the hips. Really basically everything that controls all of our leg movements. Nice steady breaths here. We'll take 2 more breaths here. Last breath. And go ahead and first, we're just gonna bring that block back down to the lower setting, remove it, and slowly lower down onto the back. And from our supported bridge pose, we're gonna take 1 more seated posture before our final resting pose. So bringing the bottoms of the feet here back into the hips, we're just slowly gonna roll up to a seated position. We're gonna sit in a cross-legged position first. Now, optional to stay here. If you have tight hips or tight knees, this is where you wanna stay. Otherwise, we're gonna bring the right foot to the left inner thigh here for half-bound lotus pose. So this pose is really preparing us for our final Stonehenge pose, which is gonna be our closing pose for the sequence. Go ahead and bring the arms to the low back here, and option to grab opposite elbows, or you can just go ahead and place the hands on the low back here like you're putting your hands into jean pockets. So go ahead and inhale here, sit up nice and tall, lift through the crown of the head. And on the exhale, we're just gonna fold, letting the head hang nice and heavy. Our shoulders are relaxed, guys, down away from the ears, so we're not bringing the shoulders down with us. The back is nice and long. We're just releasing the head and releasing the neck. And we just hold here for 5 breaths. Each exhale brings the crown of your head closer to the ground. Take 1 more breath here. And slowly roll up. Coming back to our comfortable seated position. Go ahead and uncross the legs here, and we're gonna switch sides, bringing the left foot to the right inner thigh here. And if you were grabbing your left elbow, make sure to grab the right elbow instead behind the back, providing some support for the low back here. We inhale and reach through the crown of the head, and on the exhale, we fold. We're actively bringing those shoulders down the back. This is a constant reminder to ourselves because it's very tempting in this pose to bring the chin to the chest, and that's when it becomes a passive stretch. We want to keep this an active stretch. And we'll take 2 more breaths in our half-bound lotus. And upon completing your exhale, remove the hands from the low back, slowly rise up, and uncross the legs. We're gonna come to our final resting pose now. So typically we'd take a Shavasana, but we're gonna take 1 more inversion, and this is called Stonehenge Pose. So go ahead and grab both your blocks and bring them to the top of the mat here. Bringing them about the width of the mat, just a little bit more narrow than that. And go ahead and grab your bolster or cushion. If you have a cushion, just make sure that you put it the wide way here so that it's resting on top of both blocks. So this is what our props look like here. We're gonna lower down onto the back, and we're gonna swing the legs on top of the bolster. So optional here also, if you do have a blanket, you can bring the blanket underneath your low back, bring the blanket underneath the head for support. If you have a headache or a migraine. The legs are bent here and they're resting on the bolster. So you may have to wiggle around to find stability. And this is going to be our final resting pose. Now, Stonehenge pose is an inversion. It's very similar to legs up the wall pose, but it basically helps to promote blood flow in the legs. And you want to hold your Stonehenge anywhere from 2 to 15 minutes. The legs are nice and relaxed here. The head and neck are relaxed. Just let the whole weight of your body sink into the mat. Stay in your Stonehenge for as long as you have time for. Otherwise, for the purpose of today's video, you can go ahead and meet me in a comfortable seated position. Slowly rolling up, bringing the feet in towards the midline of the body, and coming to a seat. That's your immunity boosting yoga flow. This is a great flow to help prevent sickness, and it's got a great combination of folds and inversions, which ideally is the kind of flow that you'd like to do during cold season. So I hope this helps you. I hope you feel better at home. Bring hands to heart center and bow to your practice. Namaste.
Many of our subscribers don't see our videos. Make sure that you click the notification bell. And if you haven't already, follow us on social media for tips, tutorials, giveaways, and daily inspiration.
WellnessPLUS is available on Amazon, which you can stream from your home on your phone, tablet, or TV. Join WellnessPLUS today and get your first 7 days free.
Introducing Yoga Plus, offering a free series every month with over 300 different videos. Take control of your health. Work out anytime, anywhere. Yoga Plus. Download now for free.